ॐ जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ॐ अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Namaskars and good wishes to all of you. This evening, I have been asked to say something on the life of Revered Swami Bhuteshandaji Maharaj, the 12th president of the Ramakrishna Sangha. It was my good fortune to be, what should I say, thrice blessed at the feet of Revered Maharaj, because I had my mantra diksha, my brahmacharya diksha, and also my sannyas from Revered Maharaj. I first saw, rather than say met, I first saw Revered Maharaj in Bangalore in February 1986. Sorry, I'd been working abroad for many years and then just come back to India in the month of January 1986. And in February, by good fortune and Thakur's grace, I could get Mantra Diksha from Maharaj in Bangalore, in the Holy Mother Centenary building in Baswangudi Ashrama. Then I had hardly known Maharaj. I hardly knew anything about the Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. And subsequently, by the grace of the Holy Trio and my Guru, I could enter the Ramakrishna order in May 1986. We all know that, remember Holy Mother's comment, Holy Mother Shri Sharda Devi's comment, that the foundation of the Ramakrishna order is love. Love alone is the factor that binds us together. And we all know how in Sri Ramakrishna's life, he had made all his disciples his very own, just by the cord of love. Holy Mother also, the embodiment of love and compassion. The direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna passed on that love to their disciples. And we, at least, we who had seen Revered Maharaj, have a little experience of what and how that love, of what that love was and how that love manifested. One of the defining characteristics of Maharaj's personality was his unconditional love towards everyone. Devotees, volunteers, sadhus, brahmacharis, monastics, whoever it might be. Anyone who came in contact with Maharaj always felt the strong bond of his love. Anyway, before we go into this love factor about Maharaj's life, on which I've been asked to speak something, to say a few words. Most of Maharaj's life has been published in that small booklet, which is brought out by the Ramakrishna Math, when the president or the vice president of the order attains Mahasamadhi. So most of the facts of his life have been already published in that small booklet. And through that booklet, we also know that right from his childhood, Maharaj had a great leaning towards tapasya and the monastic life also, and of course, studies. He was a very brilliant student, finished right from his school days. And then even before he joined even before his entrance examination, he had left his home and gone for tapasya to Kankhal. There he stayed at a Kankhal Sevashrama in Haridwar in Kankhal, under the care of Swamiji's disciples, Kalyananandaji Maharaj and Nishchayanandaji Maharaj. They encouraged him in his life of tapasya also. But Swami Dayanandaji Maharaj was also there in Kankhal at that time. He was known as Bimal Maharaj, the brother of Swami Nirmalanandaji, the brother of Swami Madhavanandaji Maharaj, or Nirmal Maharaj. This was the Swami Dayanandaji was the Swami who founded the Shishu Mangal in Calcutta, which is now known as the Ramakrishna Mission Seva Pratishthan. He encouraged Maharaj and he asked him to go back to Calcutta for his further studies and to complete especially his entrance examination. Accordingly, Maharaj, very reluctantly though, came back to Calcutta to take up his entrance studies once again. And even before he completed the entrance examination, Bhuteswaranandaji Maharaj tried to join the Ramakrishna Mission and came to Belur Math on several occasions. But on all those occasions, Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivanandaji, at the instigation of Swami Ananga Maharaj, Omkaranandaji, he said, no, you please go back, complete your studies and then come. Then even after completing giving the entrance examination, Omkaranji was very reluctant to admit him into the order, and so accordingly told Mahapurush Maharaj, you ask this boy to complete his graduation and then come. After graduation also, Maharaj came there to join the Ramakrishna order, but he was sent back by Mahapurush Maharaj. However, after completing his graduation, he joined the Ramakrishna order. He was a brilliant student all along, we know. He was a brilliant student all along. Like after finishing his entrance examination, when he was asked to do his graduation, he joined the Sanskrit College in Calcutta for his further studies, for his graduate studies. And there, he used to wear his traditional brahmachari dress, dhoti and kurta, and a shikha on his head, big broad shikha on his head. So he was often the butt of ridicule and taunts by many of his students and the seniors also. But they were all silenced when they saw what a brilliant student he was. Here it was that he laid the foundations for his future Sanskrit, very strong foundation in Sanskrit language, study of the scriptures, study of Sanskrit Vyakarana, and whatever is involved in the process. In all, we know from what Maharaj has told us and from the small booklet published after his Mahasamadhi, we know that Maharaj had the good fortune of meeting 10 of Sri Ramakrishna's direct monastic disciples. And he had also he had seen the Holy Mother only once. That was on her birthday, I think on the 24th of December 1918, if I'm not mistaken. A small group of young boys were taken there by Gyan Maharaj. That was the Holy Mother's Tithi Puja on that day. And after a long day's work, Mother was very tired. So the attendant Rajbahari Maharaj from above, Arupanandaji, told Gyan Maharaj, only you can come and do pranam to Maharaj, to Mother. The others will have to do pranam from downstairs only at the Udbodhan. When Gyan Maharaj heard this, he said, no, then we will all go back, do pranam from below only and go away. When Holy Mother heard this, she allowed all of them to go upstairs and do pranams to her. That was the only occasion when Maharaj in fact saw Holy Mother directly in a physical body. However, only Mother's lotus feet were visible on that day. She was completely wrapped in a chadar and sitting there. And the only other occasion when Maharaj saw Holy Mother was after her Mahasamadhi. He in fact joined the procession which brought her body from Udbodhan to Belur Math along with Gyan Maharaj and the others. Then again he had among the household disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Maharaj had the good fortune of seeing Master Mashai, Sri M, and Vaikuntanath Sanyal. And among Sri Ramakrishna's women disciples, he had the good fortune of meeting Yogin Ma, Golap Ma, and also Gauri Ma. After joining the Ramakrishna order, Maharaj, because of his penchant for studies, for scripture studies, etc., He wanted to go to Kashi for further studies. And he had told us, we have heard him telling us during our daily pranam times, Amake Mahapurush Maharaj Bachalen. In fact, Mahapurush Maharaj saved me from becoming a scholar and made a monk out of me. He would have gone to Kashi, but Mahapurush Maharaj told him, we do not want a scholar, but we want a good sadhu. You can, if you want to pursue your studies, you can stay here itself and do your studies. There is no need for you to go to Kashi. So Maharaj, in fact, you took this as a blessing from Mahapurush Maharaj, and said subsequently he would repeat on many times that Amake Mahapurush Maharaj Bachalen. He saved me, because he used to say there's something called addiction to the scriptures. Like a scriptural study becomes an addiction to us. It is so intoxicating that it can make us forget the ideal. The ideal, what is the ideal? The ideal is God realization. Whatever the scriptures teach us, that has to be realized in our own lives. Scriptural study is not an end in itself, but only a way to achieve this God realization. Right? Especially in our order, in the Ramakrishna mission, the scriptural study is a help to get self-realization. We can see in Maharaj's life the excellent combination of the 4 yogas: Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. All these presidents, all the Sangha Gurus were all exemplars as far as bhakti towards the Holy Trio was concerned. They knew nothing but Sri Ramakrishna in their lives. And especially in Maharaj's case, we all know on how many occasions he has gone for tapasya and come back. We have heard from him that he had gone to Uttar Kashi and Kashi at least on 2 occasions, maybe at 2 years at a stretch, and on both the occasions, to practice intense sadhana. We have heard from him only how he would subsist on only 1 meal per day and spend most of his time in japa and dhyana, mostly in dhyana, he would say, with very minimal reading. In fact, he had gone when he was in Uttar Kashi, he had gone to borrow books from the Kailash Ashrama or somewhere, from the local library, but then he realized that Mahapurush Maharaj has asked me to go and do tapasya at my request. It is not right that I spend my time more in reading books and scriptural studies than in diving into sadhana. So he would read very minimally. He would read only the Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the Bhagavad Gita, and 1 or 2 small other books, it seems. No other serious reading he would indulge in, because he had told Mahapurush Maharaj that I am going there for tapasya and not for studies. Once again, talking about his penchant for studies, he was a group of those fortunate students who attended the study circle in Mysore, the Vedanta study circle, very famous in those days at a Mysore center. And he had the good fortune of studying the Brahma Sutras, the Shankara Bhashya, under Sri Subramanya Iyer, who was fondly and affectionately called Uncle. This uncle used to teach them Brahma Sutra, Shankara Bhashya, very wonderfully it seems. And Swami Bhuteshanji Maharaj was such a wonderful student. The teacher was so much impressed with this student that on any particular day, if uncle could not take the class, he would announce in advance, tomorrow I won't be on a particular day, I will not be able to take the class, but in my absence, Bhuteshanji will take the class. That was the standard of Maharaj's scriptural excellence. In this connection, one incident comes to my mind. During pranam times, when we have this heads conference in Belur Math every year, perhaps most of you know that every year, annually, once a year, all heads of our centers assemble at Belur Math to attend what is called a heads conference. The heads of all centers assembling here to discuss various matters. On these occasions, there would be a lot of exchanges. When Maharaj was president, all would come for pranam in the morning. At that time, there would be many wonderful exchanges. So we would often hear this particular incident. He would, when he was assistant secretary at that time at Belur Mutt, he would take classes for the brahmacharis in the training center. One of the classes was on the Isha Upanishad. And he used to go so deeply into the Upanishad, following Shankara Bhashya, that the brahmacharis would all be very much, what to say, tired of too much of seriousness. So one day what they did was, they hid the book from which Maharaj used to read the commentary and give his explanations. So when Maharaj entered the class that day, they told him, Maharaj, boi pavajat chena. We're not able to find the book. Maharaj said, ঠিক আছে, যতটুকু আমার মনে আছে আমি মন থেকে তোমাদের পড়িয়ে দেব. He said, okay, it doesn't matter. If the book is not there, what happens? Whatever is possible, I will speak from my own memory. And to their utter surprise, Maharaj repeated verbatim whatever Shankara Bhashya contained and gave his explanations from there. So from that moment onwards, the brahmacharis never raised such topics once again. That was Maharaj's grip on the scriptures. Now, I have spoken a lot about Maharaj's life from what the books tell us. Let me now come to a few personal incidents concerning Maharaj. It had been my good fortune to be very close with Revered Maharaj. In fact, when Swami Gambhiranandaji Maharaj passed away in December 1988, when he was president of the order, of course, Maharaj became president of the Ramakrishna order and came to Belur Mutt in 1989 in the month of January. From then on, every night after the first Pangat in Belur Mutt, Belur Mutt meals, night prasad, we would all run to Maharaj's room in the President Maharaj's quarters, and there would be an informal class for about 45 minutes or half an hour. Any brahmachari or sadhu, many would just rush to attend these classes. The wonderful exchanges with Maharaj about life in the order, early days in the order, about our scriptures, about Thakur Swamiji, about life of whatever Maharaj had interacted with the sannyas and disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, his seva to Sharat Maharaj, Mahapurush Maharaj, then Akhandanandaji, etc., Vigyan Maharaj. All these things he would keep on narrating on those days. It used to be simply a mart of joy. Maharaj would be seated informally in his sofa with his legs outstretched, sometimes without dentures also. And then he would jokingly remark, oh, I have become like Granny now. You know, Granny never scolds. I am just like that. I don't scold anyone. So everyone comes to me without any fear. Now, talking about fear, I remember one little incident which happened once. There was one very young brahmachari who had come from somewhere from Tamil Nadu. He could speak only Tamil and no other language. So he had come in the morning one day for pranam. I was a brahmachari then. And one of Maharaj's sevaks was Swami Sunil Malanandaji, Ravindra Maharaj, who is now head of our center in Holland. So he told me, Vidyasagar Maharaj, please stay back a little after pranam. This brahmachari here can speak no other language but Tamil. Since you know Tamil, you please take him to Maharaj and tell Maharaj what he has to say and convey to him whatever Maharaj says. So accordingly, after everybody finished their pranam, I took this boy to Maharaj, made him sit near him. And when Maharaj saw that his boy was full of fear, shaking with fear, the first sentence Maharaj told him was, Vidyasagar, please tell him not to be afraid of me. And he himself told the boy in English, please don't be afraid of me. See, these other people are not afraid of me. So I conveyed to the boy what Maharaj was saying in Tamil. And he did Sashtang Pranam to Maharaj then and there with a very wonderful smile on his face. That was one incident. And even before Maharaj became president of the order, when he was a vice president staying at Kakurgachi, Yogodhyan Mutt, whenever there was a 4-monthly meeting at Belur Mutt of the trustees, 4-monthly meetings of the trustees at Belur Mutt, he would come and stay in Belur Mutt in what is known as the trustees building, where Swami Prabhanandaji stays now. He would come and stay in the second room near the staircase. The first room which Swami Tapasyanandaji would occupy the first room, very near on the ground floor, near the staircase. The second room was Maharaj's room there. So again, after night food, everyone would run to Maharaj's room and sit for listening to what he had to say. And most it would be fun and frolic only, loud laughter, peals of laughter. And from the adjacent room, Swami Tapasyanandaji could be heard remarking, "Oh, these fools, these stupid brahmacharis, stupid monks, they don't know what they're losing. It's a mine of scholastic life sitting here, a mine of scriptural knowledge sitting near them, and they're spending all their time in just laughing and light talks. Why can't they ask him scriptural questions at all? You'd always get upset like this." But Maharaj always his own self. Then when it used to be 10 o'clock at night, one of Maharaj's sevaks would come and tell us, "Are utho ekhon Maharaj bishramer shomoy hoye geche, utho tumra esho." He would say, "It is now time for Maharaj's night sleep. You all leave now." But Maharaj would say, "Ami kintu jete bolchi na." Maharaj would say with a lovely smile on his face, a loving sweet smile on his face, "But I am not asking you to go." We would all again laugh to heart's content and go to our rooms. Right? And then 4 monthly meetings, yeah. In fact, Maharaj has a wonderful, despite his wonderful scholarship, about his scholarship, Swami Tapasyananda used to say about his scholarship, it seems he had requested the Revered Maharaj to translate the Bhamati in Bangla or English, but Maharaj had refused. And Maharaj, in that connection, Maharaj had once commented that all his books which have been brought out, his commentaries on his talks on the Mundaka Upanishad, on the Katha Upanishad, and other like Kathamrita Prasanga, etc., there have been only recordings brought out in book form from his classes, which used to take extempore at Belur Mutt and the Kakurgachi Mutt. He has never written any book just for the sake of writing a book. He was so humble in his approach, despite his deep scholasticism. He was a wonderful scholar, but utter humility. Like we can see in him what they say, Vidya Dadate Vinayam. Okay, when Maharaj became president and came to the order, he would come out for early morning walks. Early morning meaning, say between 6 and 6:30 in the morning during winter times and before 6 in the summer times. Like those days, we used to have break, and the tea time used to be at 6 o'clock in the morning and 6:30 in the winter, 6 o'clock in summer. 6 months 6:30, 6 months 6 o'clock. And subsequently it became 6:30 all throughout the year. On those occasions, before the tiffin bell used to be given, the breakfast bell used to ring, a few of us brahmacharyans and some swamis would join Maharaj in his early morning walks. He would come from President Maharaj's quarters. He would come walking with his sevak towards the main gate or towards the pipe gate, what is called pipe gate in Belur Mutt, near the water place for drinking water for devotees. He would come until there, rest in certain places we would carry his chair sometimes. He would rest near the opposite the main temple, near the showroom, book room, near the book sales showroom, and sometimes behind Mother's temple, etc. On one of these occasions, he had said in some context, शुद्धानंद जी महाराज बोलते हैं कि माधवानंद जी महाराज बोलते हैं कि शुद्धानंद जी मतो मेधा ए शोंगे आर होवे ना. Look at the parampara. Who is quoting this? Who is saying this statement? Swami Bhuteshananda ji. He is quoting Swami Madhavananda ji, who was known to be a brilliant man himself, and about whom he was Holy Mother's disciple, about whom Holy Mother had commented, Hatir Dar Shona De Bandha. That is, the ivory tusk of an elephant covered with gold, plated with gold. That was how precious Madhavananda Maharaj was. So brilliant he was. And then he used to say, this Madhavananda used to say about Shuddhananda ji, who was Swamiji's disciple, brilliant beyond description, from whom all the Bhuteshananda etc. learned the Upanishads when they were in the Belur Mutt subsequently. So this was the parampara. We are so happy to belong to such a wonderful order here, even though we are not even 1% of what they are. But this is the parampara we have in the Ramakrishna order. Shuddhananda ji at one place, brilliance. Below him is Madhavananda ji. Below him is Bhuteshananda ji. This parampara continues in the Ramakrishna order. I was just talking about Maharaj's scholarship, right? Then some more incidents also now. Yes, I remember now. Once when a foreign brahmachari, a brahmachari from America, I think from San Francisco, he had come to take sannyas. He had come from San Francisco. His name was something, what was his name? Veda Chaitanya, I think. No, his name was Vedananda. Just 1 minute. Vedananda. His name was Vedananda. His name was Mriganka Joseph Vedantananda. Anyway, yes, his name was Warner Hirsch. He had come from San Francisco. His sannyas name subsequently was Swami Vedananda. His name was Warner Hirsch. Hirsch. So, before sannyas, he was still a brahmachari. I was walking with Maharaj in his present Maharaj quarters before breakfast. Like I said just now, we used to go to meet him before his breakfast, before our breakfast. We were walking in present Maharaj quarters. Maharaj was there, I was there. This brahmachari from Walter Hirsch was there. And one of Maharaj's sevaks also was with us. 4 of us were walking. Then suddenly in the course of his walk, Maharaj asked this Walter Hirsch, "What is the meaning of your name? What does the Hirsch mean? And this brahmachari replied, American brahmachari replied, "Maharaj, in German, Hirsch means mriga, deer, that is a bear. Deer, mriga." And then this brahmachari commented, "That is the fastest running animal." Then Maharaj said, "No, the deer is not the fastest running animal, but the fastest moving animal is the cheetah, the leopard." This incident was over. Then after about 1 or 2 rounds of walking, I asked Maharaj, "Maharaj, if the fastest animal is the cheetah, then which is the slowest moving animal?" Maharaj stopped in his walk and said, "Kochhap, the turtle, the tortoise." And immediately turning towards me, he said, "Tumi ki amar chola dekhe prashnata korcho?" Which means, do you ask this question? My question was, "Maharaj, if cheetah is the fastest running animal, which is the slowest moving animal?" To which Maharaj replied, "Kochhap, tortoise, the tortoise." And then he asks me, "Do you ask this question, the slowest moving animal?" Looking at me walk, he used to walk very slowly. So he's asking, "Do you ask this question prompted by my walking?" So all of us burst into laughter. Right? And then let me tell you about 1 or 2 other incidents also. Yes, once in winter, just like it is winter is just setting in Belur Math just now, it was winter time in Belur Math. We used to have pranams early morning then. We used to have tea at 6:30 and 7 or 7:15 used to be Maharaj's pranam time. So my routine was have breakfast, have a dip in the Ganga, and then go to Maharaj for pranam from there. So on that particular occasion, like every day, the topic of discussion was the varieties of caps which sadhus wear. Woolen caps, cotton caps, various colors, various hues, etc. The shapes, the size, the decoration of the caps, etc. That was the topic of discussion. And Vibhu Maharaj was a brahmachari also then, along with me. Vibhu was 1 year junior to me. He is now Swami Atmalokananda, head of a center in Russia. So he also was there. So as soon as I entered Maharaj's room for pranam, he told Maharaj, I was not wearing a cap. So he told Maharaj, "Maharaj, yer mathay kichu nahi," which means Maharaj, there is nothing on his head. So Maharaj also immediately said, "Hey, Vidyasagar, tumhar mathay kichu nahi," which means, "Vidyasagar, there is nothing in your head." I said, "Yes, Maharaj, thik bole chen, amar mathay kichu nahi." "Yes, Maharaj, you are correct. I don't have anything inside my head." So again, we all had a burst of laughter at this. So there are many occasions like this when we had such wonderful exchanges with Maharaj. One more, that day, another day during pranam time, the discussion was about 3D films, which had just come into the market. Like we were all discussing, we were telling Maharaj that 3D, but to see 3D films, you require special glasses to be worn, special goggles to be worn, so that the effect of 3D can be felt spontaneously. So suddenly Maharaj's glance fell on me. He asked me, "Vidyasagar, 3D film দেখেছো কি?" "Maharaj, দেখেছি." "দেখেছো? কোথায় দেখেছো?" "Maharaj, San Francisco তে." "San Francisco? ওখানে কি করতে গিয়েছিলে?" "Maharaj, বেড়াতে গিয়েছিলাম." Oh, then he said, Tumi to kaum na hoga? Which means, he asked me, have you seen a 3D film? I said, yes, Maharaj. Where did you see? In San Francisco. Why had you gone to San Francisco? Maharaj, I had gone as a tourist as a traveler. So, you're not to be trifled with them. That was Maharaj's comment. Right? So, one more day we say, to show how Maharaj's love manifested. Once again, after a winter a bath a Ganga bath in winter, I was a little late for Maharaj's pranam, so I could get a chance to go near him and do pranam that day. So when I went near him, he just took hold of my hand, and when he touched my hands, they were very, very cold because of the Ganga bath. He said, "Arey, ye to thanda keno? Why are your hands so cold?" And immediately he said, put it on my lap inside, put it on my lap. He used to wear a shawl upstairs on his body, on the upper part of his body also, and on his lap there should be one more good shawl covering the lower limbs, etc. So he says, put your hands inside my shawl, put your hands on my lap, so they'll feel warm. Such much his affection towards us. With every little incident, his love for monastics, for sadhus would manifest itself. Right? Then one more very touching incident. Like I've been telling you people, I used to go regularly for Maharaj's early morning meetings before breakfast. But when the Swamiji's Chicago Centenary came, 1993 onwards, 1993 onwards, we were to hold Swamiji's Chicago celebrations in Calcutta, in Belur Math and other centers also all over the world. In memory of that occasion, we were to bring out certain subsidized booklets, bringing out Swamiji's lectures from Colombo to Almora in synoptic form. I think one of the titles was "To the Youth of India." These are all excerpts culled from Swamiji's lectures from Colombo to Almora and brought out in smaller versions in this book. So myself and Tapas Maharaj, Vimalatmanandaji Maharaj, who is now head of our Kakulgachi Center, who were Atmasanji Maharaj's secretary for a long time when he was president and vice president. We used to go for this job to Swapna Printers in Calcutta on what is called Rajaram Mohan Rai Sharani, Amherst Street in Calcutta. So we used to go there almost every afternoon. We would leave around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and come back around midnight, 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. It would be late at night. So naturally, I would miss my Mangalarti on the subsequent morning, and because I would get up late, I could not go to Revered Maharaj for his early morning walks continuously for many days, say 4, 5, 6 days or a week at a time. Then Maharaj Sevaks would ask me, Maharaj jigesh korchen, tumi keno ashcho na ajkal? So which means Maharaj is questioning why Vidyasagar is not coming these days early morning. So one day when I went to him after about 7 days, a gap of 7 days, he asked me, tumi ajkal ashcho na keno? I told him, Maharaj, this particular work was going on, so I could not come to you. And that was the only occasion perhaps when he asked me personally to do some personal seva to him. He told me, okay, go to my room where I sit to my bedroom. You will see a spittoon there and a mug of water. Please bring that along with that small towel, small napkin with it. That was the only occasion when Maharaj gave me a chance to be of personal service by his own utterance. Really, that was a blessing, a wonderful blessing to be able to do it for Maharaj. One more incident I'll narrate about Guru Purnima, how these gurus give their blessings on us, pour their blessings on us in what they call unasked manner, how their grace descends on us, how their grace bounty flows on us. It was a Guru Purnima day, sometime which comes in the month of July perhaps, generally. So I was a brahmachari then. So on all such occasions, on special occasions, I would always stay as much as possible in Prajan Maharaj's quarters. Whenever work permitted, I would just rush to his room there, rush to his quarters and stay there. Now during Guru Purnima, thousands of devotees would come to do pranams to Maharaj. So what would be the routine was, they would come in batches. Let's say the pranams will be there for half an hour, 1 hour, with a break for say 15 minutes or 20 minutes, during which Maharaj will have a cup of coffee or some snacks or some dab, coconut water, etc. So this was one such break. Around 10:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, one batch of pranams was over. There was nobody inside, no sevak also. Maharaj is sitting alone in his room where pranams used to be offered in the old President Maharaj's quarters, where Swami Suvitananda Maharaj stays now. And I was standing near Maharaj's door, the door between his bedroom and the pranam room. I was standing near that door, a brahmachari. So suddenly Maharaj called me, come here. So I went to him. He said, Ar Kachesho, come nearer. He took my head on his lap, then blessed me with both his hands, and I said, go, nothing else, go. There was one more brahmachari from Rahara there, one year senior to me, Tuhin Maharaj. He's still in Rahara. He also was behind me. So he says, Maharaj, why should I go? Why should I not get your blessing? He also came. He was a Maharaj disciple. Mantra Diksha from Maharaj he had. So he too went and took his blessing from Maharaj. So this is the way in which these Mahapurushas bless us unconditionally. So we all felt the thrill of being blessed by Maharaj. Then Maharaj's love for sadhus. Like every evening after Sandhya Arati, all sadhus would go to President Maharaj's quarters to have a little snacks, a cup of tea or coffee, and whatever light snacks there could be. And Maharaj always wanted sadhus should come there and have these snacks, have tea, coffee, and go. So once Maharaj was to go to Bombay for a very serious operation to his intestines, I think, or heart maybe. He had to go to Bombay, British Candy Hospital. So before he went, he told Devashish Maharaj, Swami Yogi Varananda, I think, who was in charge of Belur Mutt then, the Mutt office, Devashish, Sadhura Jano Ashe Khane, Oder Khavar Vyavastha Kore Rakho Tumi, which means Devashish, see that sadhus come here daily as usual, as they come now. See that they get something to eat here. See that the practice is not stopped. That was his concern for sadhus. And even when he went to Bombay, from there also, he would call and find out whether sadhus are coming for tea and snacks or no. His love for sadhus, his concern for sadhus, his feeling for sadhus was really something incredible. Right? Then we all remember after when the Babri Masjid incident happened in 1992, in December 1992, the infamous Babri Masjid incident. At that time, there was a curfew imposed in Calcutta, and almost all parts of India was under curfew then. Those curfew days were 7 days or 10 days perhaps, when nobody would come into the mutt, no one would go outside also. On those days, for Sandhya Arati, during evening Arati time, Thakur's Arati, we would get Maharaj's presence in the evening Arati. He would come and sit in the chair at the fag end of the temple, near the temple door, sitting with his sevaks with him, next to him. He would be seated on a chair. And yes, that was another incident I can narrate to you. Like Maharaj would frequently come to the headquarters building. Just for early morning around 10 o'clock, 10:30, he would come for a walk. Just come tour around his office and go back. So on such occasions also, would be a very special occasion for us. Like we would all go in a crowd with Maharaj. He would go to every office, just move around every office and say, how are you, what are you doing, etc. So every office, the crowd would keep on increasing, 1, 2, 3, etc. So then next day, Maharaj would always invariably, when Maharaj would leave the headquarters building and go, he would say, I will not come here again. When Atma Sanjay was General Secretary then, Maharaj, Keno come bolchen. Why would you say like this, Maharaj? Say, no, amele tumader kaje vagat hoy. Tumader kaj se band hoy jaye. When I come, all your work gets stopped. So it is good that I do not come. So everybody would say, no, Maharaj, please come. We will make up for our work, don't worry. You please don't stop coming. This was the occasion that Maharaj used to come here. And about the choice of words, how conscious Maharaj was about the words he used. Like once when one of our Swamis asked him, as we saw earlier, Maharaj had the good fortune to associate with, to see 10 direct monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Rabbi Swami Turiyananji Maharaj also one of them. So Maharaj was always saying he was such a wonderful personality, full of enthusiasm, full of pronunciation all the time, full of a special manifestation all the time. So one of sadhus on Hari Maharaj Titi Puja day, one Swami asked Maharaj, Hari Maharaj खूब मेजाजी छिलेन? Then Maharaj said, what do you mean? That's not mejaz. From where do you get your words? From where do you get your words from like this? Majaji keno, bolo tejashvi chilen. See, he was radiating light. Not Majazi means full of ego. It is not like that. He was not full of ego. In fact, Hari Maharaj used to say, the purpose of sadhana is to grind the ego completely, to show that you are nothing. By any amount of sadhana that cannot take you to God. It is only God's grace which can take you to God. But to realize that, one has to go through the grill of sadhana. Unless one does intense sadhana, one cannot realize that God can be known only through His grace and not through sadhana. Now, I think we're almost coming to the... Okay, yes, before I conclude, I can narrate one more incident here. Even during Maharaj's lifetime, I had the good fortune to visit his birthplace, Somsar, which is near Bardhaman, somewhere near Bardhaman, about half an hour away from Bardhaman. I and Ashok Maharaj, who is Swami Lokottananandaji, who is now head of one of our trustees of the Ramakrishna Mutt and head of our Kamarpukur Center. He was then at the headquarters in the cash section. We used to go around for any official work, we used to go around together. So we had gone to Bardhaman for some post office nomination work, etc. And since Somsar was close by, we decided to go to Somsar on that day, on a particular occasion. So we went to Somsar, to Maharaj's birthplace, saw the Damodar river there, saw the Shiva temple which Maharaj where Maharaj used to worship Shiva from his childhood. And then we remember especially there was a hot summer day and there was a small water pump near the Shiva temple. And we had gone there walking in the hot sun, sweating. It was very, very humid. So when we went and drank this water from that tube well, it was the earth was so wonderfully sweet, so wonderfully cold. It quenched our thirst so much that I felt that drinking more and more. It was such sweet water. So when we came back from Somsar, we had gone to Maharaj and told him that we had been to your birthplace, Maharaj. So Maharaj was not much moved at all. He only said, yes, I won't recognize anybody from that place now. So he had left that place many years ago, many decades ago. And so he said, I can't recognize anybody from there now. It was just by the way. Yes, so we come to almost the last of one or two last incidents only, right? On the last, Maharaj attended Mahasamadhi on the 10th of August, 1998. So I had the good fortune, rather I did not misfortune or good fortune, to spend the last night with him at the Kothari Medical Center. That night he was in a coma, of course, so there was no interaction at all. I spent the whole night in the Kothari Medical Center, keeping vigil in the room next to the where he was admitted, and then came back in the morning. And subsequently, we got the news that he passed away on that same afternoon, around 2:20 or 2:30 this one, right? So this was what I had planned to speak about Maharaj. Many thoughts come, but many much have escaped also. If Maharaj gives a chance, once again, anytime during our lifetime, I'll try to put some more thoughts together. But I think today, this much should do. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all of you. Jai Ramakrishna. Jai Ma.